Yep, if everything went well, we should be live. And hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Everything Outside Code. On these episodes, I talk to a fantastic founder, co-founder, and CTO, like we have Ivan today, and we talk about everything outside, writing code. So the really, really hard part, in my opinion. And today we're going to be talking about teams. We know teams are the backbone of any organization, any great product. But since the last 2 years I've become a founder, teams and setting up a team have been like the hardest thing I've had to deal with. People. Writing code pretty straightforward, but dealing with people and the people and processes around building the product super difficult. So today we're going to be talking about offshore, onshore, near shore. If if you've ever been within the space of, or you've ever thought about hiring a team of developers or product people outside where you're based, then you should have come across these terms. But we'll just get to it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the comments. I'm going to see them. And over to the man of the moment, Ivan, CTO and co-founder of Coax. Hi,
Yeah.
Ivan. Thanks for coming on
Hey,
today.
hey, William. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad we could make this happen. I know we've moved it like what, twice now due to
Yeah,
different
only
reasons.
two times. Only two times.
Yeah. But we made it work this time, which is great. Which is
Yes.
great. Thanks. Well, typically I like to start these things with, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do and how you got here. Not how you got to the stream, but how you got to be the CTO and co-founder at Quarks.
Yeah. No, thanks. I'm started in the tech industry for more than 15 years ago. We together with two partners, we founded the Cox. I'm like due to my engineering background, I'm handling the technical part of the company, and I'm have a CTO title. So basically it all was with passion for the engineering, like development for free. First of all, 15, 12 years ago, it was not for mostly for money. It was just because you love that, all of that techy things. And
Yeah.
after that, I found out that people even pay for that. So why not? And
Yeah,
then
right.
after that, I met two partners, Peter and Serge, and together we joined have the joint venture, and luckily we're running the company for more than 10 years already together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you guys still stayed together.
Yes, even in the same room. We have a principle that we're sitting in the same room, even on the same table. We have a big round table,
Yeah,
so we're sitting in the same table, having a lunch almost daily. So we're quite close.
yeah. Wow. Well, I guess that's something for me to learn. And when I eventually get like partners or co-founders, uh, yes, try to sit in the same room, and then maybe we'll make it to 10 years. We're working, we're working together.
It works for us so far. So yeah, so far as the
Yeah,
strategy is proved.
yeah. That's really cool. That's an interesting one. So yeah, let's jump into the topic of today. What does Quarks do? Let's start with that, and then we can jump into like teams and the different forms they take.
Sure. So basically, we're doing bespoke software development, custom solutions. We're delivering the software across different industries, but primarily focused at this moment on travel, retail, logistic, transportation. That's where we have a really strong portfolio of clients. We have a good expertise. It's like one of the philosophy that we follow is that business should not adopt to the software, while the software should adopt to the business needs. Because it's kind of when you have your organization and you need to fine tune your process because your software cannot do one or another things. It's really annoying. So we are here to resolve that and help you to have a really well tailored solutions. So we're doing the full cycle. It's starting from the idea. So all what you need as an input in our function is just an idea, and we do the product ideation, we do the design phase, product discovery, software development, quality engineering, a lot of other stuff inside and up to the customer support. When you have production product, you have a live product, you're working as people, you're earning money. So we're doing the post-production, customer support, and so everything which is related to tech, so you could focus purely on sales and marketing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you take an idea from customer and you turn it into a finished product. There seems to be a lot that goes into that process. How do you manage conversations with the client? Because I can imagine from how you say and how hands-on you are with the team, and also knowing the changing requirements of clients and people with ideas. How do you actually work with them? Do you like lock in scope at the start? Is there leeway to change things around? Do you also say to them like, hey, I think your idea is shit. You should dump this, or you should dump this vertical and go this other way. How does that work?
It's not the best things from sales perspective to tell that the idea is shit, but I'll be frank, like sometimes when I have some concerns or someone from our team have some concerns, we definitely rate that. It's not just like your idea is brilliant, it would cost for you X amount, we will implement it anyway. It's more about the having kind of feedback, so we can tell, you know what, like we don't think it could work, but here is an option which would improve your idea. And that's actually what you're getting with this expertise, is not only that give us requirement and we will implement that. Like you can do that right now with all that vibe coding tools, like it should not be a
Right.
problem. Like our expertise is bringing that solutions and bringing that ideas, fresh ideas, which could help your product really work on the market, and not just to have yet another product which will be just on a graveyard somewhere, the software graveyard. So it just does not make
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, and regarding the communication, it's a quite interesting point, because during this workflow, you communicating with a lot of our team members. It's starting from the client relationship manager, you communicating with our business analyst, delivery managers, project manager, and many, many more. But we build a system which allow you to almost not feel that, because we managing all the artifacts, all the communication stuff, all the points properly in our system. So it's not missing anywhere. You should not kind of explain something twice or three times, because it's a different people and you need to start from the beginning. We leverage a lot of AI right now internally, starting with Notebook LM and other stuff, which allow us to keep all information in one place and not waste the time. But from what really works is just a simple human to human connection. And we usually each product have a delivery manager, that the responsible person for specifically for your product, and this person responsible for almost everything what is related to your product. It's kind of the budgeting, software delivery, team allocation, and many, many more. It's kind of your primary contact, while we have the business analyst who is more dedicated to the requirements, and we have a project managers who dedicating to the delivery of the product, to the schedule, making sure that everything is aligned, and etc. And we have a team lead, like a technical person who is actually doing the coding, making sure that we're good from the engineering perspective. It's only a small part of the team, but that's
Yeah.
how the usual team composition looks like.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Do clients feel like there's a lot of it, like there are a lot of touch points, or do you only expose them to one touch point? Because I do know a lot of bottlenecks folks I've spoken to have when they think about remote teams is they really don't want to like deal with so many different people, right? And you've just mentioned so many different people. So how does it work? As
Sure.
someone with an idea, do I talk to everyone across board, or I just speak to one person? How does that work?
We're doing this via, I would say, escalation of communication. So
Hmm.
you have a delivery manager who basically responsible for everything. If you want, you can communicate just with that person. Like, that's absolutely fine. But if it's an ongoing product, we're discussing requirements, we're discussing what should be done, how it should be done. That's why we involve also other people who are directly responsible for that job. And usually it's becoming that organically somehow, that people just I want to have a conversation with your PA. I would like to speak with project manager, how we look from the schedule perspective. And so people just wanted to be a part of the team. When they see the passion, when they see the energy of the team, which we have here, how people speak, how people work, they just wanted to be a part of the team. And that's absolutely fine. They are stakeholders. They should be a part of this team. And we are kind of
Yeah.
glad to have them on board. So it's kind of, I would not say they asking for this,
Hmm.
but it's more about that we are totally open. We're always saying that if you want, you can join a daily stand up. You can be on the planning sprint, on the retrospective meeting, and anything basically.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you give them the opportunity to be within the process, but also the flexibility to be out of it, like completely out of it, and just up to one person.
Even code if you want. So like wherever you
If
want.
you want to
So
code,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
sure.
It's kind of it's
Yeah.
very like it's very easy to build in this way. One of the value of the company is the transparency. And when we're saying that it's transparent, it's really transparent. There is no kind of a black box where you sending requirement and receiving a code. Like it does not work like
Yeah.
that. It just like again we have a team here. We're all humans. We communicate. So why not to show how we communicate? Why not to have stakeholders involved into
Yeah.
this process?
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Thanks, Ivan. So, I'm curious to the topic. Offshore,
Yeah.
onshore, nearshore. These are sort of like the three forms remote teams take when they either augment another team or they work on a project somewhere. Could you go over like what you feel like the differences are? And if there is another form, if there's a fourth or fifth form this could take.
Sure. No, that's primarily the three major forms, like offshore, that's when you're working with a country which are far from you. Onshore, that's when you have a team within the same country or within the same region. And nearshore is when you work with the neighborhood countries. So there are pros and cons in each approach. If you're speaking about the onshore, that's a good because it's the same culture. Like it's usually the same, like the same language. Like if you're working in Germany, like you speaking like on that language. If you're working within French, you're speaking on the native language, which is great. Um, there is a similar culture, which is also important. But usually, why people deciding to go with offshore is price and expertise. That's what we found out, um, and that's actually one of the competitive advantages. Um, I'm always asking an example when people considering like why I should work with a team which is like a 300 like a 3,000 miles from me. And I'm asking like, what is the difference between the team 3,000 miles from you, and what is the difference between remote engineers, which is 100 miles from you? Like,
Yeah.
we will still speak Google Meet. Like, we will do the meetings. We will deliver the job. Like, explain me the difference. Like, if you want, I can travel. Like, that's yes, it could take a bit longer, but at the end of the day, it will work. So, and usually it's like, you know what, maybe it makes sense, and then I can tell you the difference. Usually it's about the like we have this expertise which you're looking for, and we operating as a company. We have all of this legal processes set up. You are covered by NDAs, you're covered by law, you are covered your intellectual property covered, and many more things. So that's how it works. um, but like if you're speaking about the offshore, usually it's people just don't know like anything about the uh, how it works, and that's why it's getting like you a bit scared because I don't know where it would be my code store. I don't know how it like how it in general how communication will work, time zone differences, and many more. Um, we have established a process for that. Like all of these questions are answered like with time zone. We are able to find almost with starting from San Francisco, from California, up to up to Dubai, like easily we can cover, like even like we are based in Ukraine, so and we easily covering Australia as well. Yes, we need to wake up a bit earlier in the morning, but like it works. So it's not a problem as well.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what then is the difference between nearshore and offshore, right? Because I've
Mhm.
seen teams or folks adopt more nearshore and offshore, even though they're both remote models.
Yeah.
What are some of the key differentiators? I mean, obviously, aside from the fact that it's just on the same continent, for instance.
Basically, like the main difference between the nearshore and offshore usually is the distance, and the reason that sometimes the neighborhood countries like they have a closer culture, while for example when you're working for example with South America and Europe, culture will be a bit more different rather than, for example, if you in Germany and you're working with company from Argentina and Brazil, culture there will be a bit different, and not so close as let's say Polish or Ukrainian culture, and that's maybe one of the things, and the time zone. Obviously, that's a huge for some companies. It's really important that the team can operate within their time zone. So from this perspective, I would say that the main difference. But like if you're speaking about the solution delivery, about the software delivery, so you wouldn't find any difference on that part.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, I think the analogy that you made, makes a lot of sense. Where an offshore or someone working offshore with similar expertise is it's no different from someone 100 miles from like the office, right? Both are working remote, both show up on Google Meets or Zoom, and both show up to the company offsite once a year. They're just living
Even more.
2,500 miles apart, apart
Yeah.
from each other, and they're able to deliver great software while doing it with like comparative quality. That's cool. Well, I guess quality is a huge part, but aside from quality, I'd say let's dial it back a bit. What are some of the pitfalls that you see people make when they consider remote teams hiring, either offsetting a full product or augmenting their existing team? What are some of the
Mhm.
mistakes they make?
That's a great question, and I have defined it for myself. Maybe the three key points. And the first is when you don't have a clear vision and understanding of result. It's like when you have some idea, you wanted to do something, and you looking for the company which can implement that something, but you don't know what you wanted to do, and that's the problem because team don't basically team cannot tell you what will work, what will don't work from the business perspective. Team can like a company can tell you what would work from the engineering perspective, how to implement that, and how to make sure that it will work according to that business needs. But team is not basically responsible for making that business decision, and it would be not right because again the owner putting the risk for that, and the owner need to make a decision on this. That's why when we have our engagement team working with founders on the early days, we're always asking the two main questions, which is the first one: which problem do we solve? What we trying to solve? If this problem really exists. So, and that's when we're getting back, like when I'm telling if idea is good or no. And the second question is how our success should looks like. So it's these two basic questions, an answer on that one taken from the 2 minutes, if you know them, up to 1 hour when we brainstorming that. Like, what problem do we solve? Who is our? It's okay, good. So we solve this problem, and who will be actually affected by that, and etc. etc. So it's a bit of an analysis, like what we're going to do. While the second question is important for us to understand in order to deliver really great and proper result. So we will know that if we wanna this founder to be successful, and in order to do that, that's how our success will looks like. So that's what we need to do, and it's making life easier for both. The second one is, I would say, that's what I found a lot, is when you on that route, when you're on that path with working with offshore team, you providing some requirements, you getting some quotes, and a lot of funders are analyzing purely on the single price. Like, so this software will take to deliver, like in this company it will cost 50,000, in this 60, in this 80,000, and they're not jumping into the details. And the problem with that, because the quote with the 50K could not include a lot of stuffs which will be included in the 80K, and you will spend that, and you will even overspend that, because that's how it usually works. So my advice here will be to dive into the details, understand what is actually estimated. Is security include, quality engineering, project management, release management, any guarantees, post-production guarantees, and etc. All of that making the pricing. So when you analyze the price, you need to be in the one coordinates. So, and you need to make sure that everything is aligned. And that's usually what, like when some of our potential clients saying, I have a quote which is like a 30% less. So why so? And then it's nice, show me the quote. That's why. And then we found in then we find out that it's actually more expensive, because and it will be not even ready go to market without that feature which we included, and etc. So it's kind of dive into the details at this stage. It's really important to understand what is included, and so take a look on the specific things and pay attention to the details. And maybe the third one is, when you're working with the team, is always share with your team your strategical vision, your plans, and not work with don't give them some just fragmental information. And the reason for that, because behind the scene, working in the team of the software architects, of the project manager, TAs, and all of them do planning. And when I know that you need to deliver, you wanted to have a marketplace, that's one story. When I know that you have a marketplace which need to support A, B, C integration, and etc., I able to make a proper software architecture, include all of the stuff at the beginning, which will save you a lot of money in the future, because I'm keeping that in mind when I'm making my decisions these days. So that's why I always tell how you see how you see your plans, how you see your second version, how you see your third version. It's not about the do this from the day one, but it's more to understand and plan it properly. So these three things, I would say, save a lot. So yeah, that's something we definitely need to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah, and so something I'm curious about. Obviously, once the scope is like locked in, vision is shared. When people build startups, the requirements change naturally because that's the nature of startups. That's the nature of the market. Say, for instance, you're helping someone build an e-commerce product that helps you try on products, clothes you see on celebrities, for instance, and they can use AI to try it on. Last night, Google probably like killed 80% of that product. And then the founder panics to you and he's like, hey, okay, so I have this idea. We need to pivot somehow. How does that work? Do you say, oh, we have this thing locked in already. We're going to need to reassess how this works. What does that process look like typically? Because I know we're building a startup product, especially something that's pre-product market fit. Um, it changes quite a lot. How does that work?
Yeah. I will split it to the two parts. So the first part is regarding the overall change request and how it works. And usually it's quite easy. The typical model for the product is the time and material, which is mean you pay per spend hours. And when you say, guys, I don't want it to have a, let's say, authentication with Facebook. I wanted to have authentication with Google. Saying that's absolutely fine. We're removing Facebook authentication, which taking us like half a day to implement, and we're replacing that with Google, which taking us 2 hours of implement. So in this case, you even spend less, so which is great. And it's per request. If the model of the product is fixed price, which is also an option, so then we have a strict requirement, and we delivering the project within the strict requirements and within the specific budget. Then we need to make it a bit more formal. So we need to do a revelation of the scope and provide an updated estimation for that change request. So that's from the process perspective. Regarding the case which you described, I saw a few weeks ago, like even a few months ago, I found a picture where it was like so your solution is a wrapper for the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a wrapper for NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a wrapper of TSMC, and go on,
Yeah,
and TSMC is a wrapper of
proper
SAND,
for like
and go
stand.
on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So first of all, you should not be scared about that using some third parties and etc. I'm always saying that you should own the data as much as possible, but it does
yeah,
not mean that you cannot leverage third party processing units. You should, if you can. And if you have like and we have such cases, usually it's coming like good, but like we have our product and we have our unique selling point. Yes, Google released that one, like that's okay. Why our clients love us, like why your customer still with you, because you're providing something better what Google would not provide, like. And it's all, again, like it all looks nice on the presentation, but that's how it actually works. Like, test the quality, let's take. So usually the first session is just calm down, like oh, everything
yeah.
is
Like
good.
chill.
It will, like, yeah, no one, like, because they have a feeling that all customer will leave them in one day, move to the Google, and they done. Like, it's, again, yes, some people testing that, they playing around, but we just building a clear strategy. Good. So our unique selling point is this. So Google really that's fine. So our plan of attack is we're gonna to add this, and this feature in order to keep our customers with us. So, and even like it would allow us to introduce another subscription plan more higher, because we're now delivering more value. It just like a run and don't stop. But this first shock, which should be, you need to have someone who will tell you, no worries, no worries, like we're gonna
Yeah,
deal with that. And if they be your partner, your co-founder, or like someone from your tech team who just like calm you down, like we're gonna to deal with that.
yeah. I think that's a different perspective that a lot of founders do not have. Is is that time moves a lot faster in their heads when a competitor releases like a product. They feel like, oh, people are going to leave tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
Like the customers are going to jump ship. Uh, forgetting that if the customers are able to jump ship that easily, then maybe you actually didn't have something valuable in the
exactly.
first place. So, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. The next question I have, this is probably more for like founders like us and folks that are also working on agencies, but how did you go to market first? How did you find your first customers with Coax? I have a couple of friends that are thinking about having like a software consultancy. They want to help with like, building apps, one or two small clients, startups, but it's so hard to find customers. They're like, they're like, how is anybody doing it? So I'm curious, like, if there's anything you can share from like, what's working, how are you going to market, and how is that looking?
um I would still like I would point to the quality again, and the reason for that is simple. How we found our first client? It was reference. Like it's someone,
Okay.
one of friend of us. Like they told, like, I know these guys. They're doing great. Uh, like I believe you can trust them, your software, your solution, and then another and another and another, and we have a huge network of these references. Like a lot of our clients, we have a good net promote score, and a lot of our clients, they refer us, and we really value and appreciate them for that. And that's one of the best way, because you, in this case, you don't need to sell anything. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of, I'm coming to you and telling William, you know what, I have a great guys who doing amazing things. You don't need to look for anyone else. Like they did a good job for me, like you try out them. And when you're coming to me, like, I don't need to convince you or etc. I'm just jumping straight to the point. Like, what can I do for you? So nice. So that quote, and like that's much easier process. Obviously, we have a sales pipelines. We have a sales unit who working on the outreach campaign. But we're trying to. I'm always saying that sales, it should not be like just another search for the synergy in the LinkedIn and etc. It should be, you know what I mean.
Yeah, those LinkedIn messages that say we're trying to explore potential synergies.
Yes,
It's like
yes,
there's a school where they teach all the SDRs to say I want to explore potential synergies. I
I
wish I
would
could block that line.
I would close at school as a first thing to do. So yeah. But like in general, it should be organic. Like in our case, we have we speak to the people and we're trying to treat the people who are looking for something, who are interested. Like, and we have our ICP. We have understanding of who are potentially might look for the bespoke solution, because it's kind of a bit different thing rather than having a product or even the product which you could configure. Like we in our case, we're building everything from scratch, and it's kind of build a well properly tailored suit for you. Like don't like it's not that everyone need that one, but like the people who are looking for that, like they really need that one and they are looking to get a really proper result. So references, we do like we post a lot of content on our website. We looking after the website, and we trying to post the relevant content there. We trying to stay on top on the latest news, and that's of the benefit of our existing clients as well, because when something new appear, we always say, hey, we have this and that and etc. So in like for example in travel, like the FTC in US, they released a rule of like showing the total price for all travel. Like, so all travel and ticketing system should show the final price without the hiding fees. So we informed all the clients, guys, if you're operating there, like we need to update this one. It's a regulation, so we cannot just forget about that and etc. So
Yeah,
um, keep engaged with the people who might be interested, but it's kind of red market nowadays, and it's really hard to differentiate. That's why the quality of the product and the reputation, it's something which help us a lot. It's hard
yeah,
to start this day. I don't know how we would start today, for example.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
I
it would be much harder.
yeah, I get tons of like, folks reaching out to me to like to provide offshore teams. Because I guess once you change your LinkedIn bio to founder or CEO, you just start getting a lot of those emails.
Yes,
But
even me getting
I
that. They don't even filter
yeah,
that. They don't look in I'm working this interest. They just like push the
send the
message
same.
and let's see what happened.
Yeah, they send the same thing to you. But something that you said that I really like and I resonate with is you you said that you look for not just your ICP, but people that could be ready to buy from you, that could have the problem that you want to solve. So it's not just a generic group of founders with companies between 50 and 200 employees with $1 million plus revenue, typical ICP stuff. But it's more, yeah, this person could be ready to buy. And the reason I say this, and I think it's a good idea, and for anyone else out there thinking about going to market, is the only time I've ever thought about replying any of these emails I've gotten. So I've never ever thought about replying them. Most of them go to spam. But then I get one day, and I take a lot of introspection. I always look at like what email ends up in my inbox, because I learned from that. If an email ends up in my inbox, I go through the email line by line. So I see what they did right so that I can do it right and bypass spam triggers whenever I
Yeah.
send emails. Right. So I get this email, I open it, there's nothing special about it. But I finished the email. And then I realized the reason I finished it was because at that point in time, I was thinking about hiring a developer. That was the
Yes,
only reason.
exactly.
I it's not like email found me well. Like the emails never find you well. Oh, I
Yes.
hope you're doing all right. No, they never. But at that time, I was thinking about bringing on a developer for a side project, and that's why I read through it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is great. And the only reason I opened this was because I was looking. So if I guess if folks that are out there that are also like selling, if you could find a way to, recognize those that are looking, that would be great. But then I guess this why sales tools that show you like intent signals are super expensive, because it's really not that easy to realize or to know if someone is looking.
Exactly. And sometimes they're not really accurate. Like in our case, we're doing a lot of manual work. Like we checking if you're speaking about the LinkedIn, we checking the profile, we checking the post, we checking if this, like if you have a campaign which is targeting for the logistic, for example, travel, looking what these people post. Well, like at which stage their product at this moment, they have in the team, the scaling, if they hiring someone, and only in that case that they really match to that criteria, we sending them like a simple mail. Like it's not about the synergy or etc. It's more about that, like hey, would like to connect, like if you will need, like let me know. But it's not about the sending this message for the thousand of people. It's about sending them to the 50 people, and the chance that they really need that much higher.
Yeah,
That's why the conversion rate is better, and it's not just waste of time and energy and just to be another spam message in someone's inbox.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I don't know what salespeople out there will say, but I definitely do agree that if you do a lot of work filtering out, you know, uh, upstream, right? So reducing, going from like 1,000 contacts in the list to 20 that you've pre-qualified, I feel like you have a higher chance of hitting something downstream, of like more efficiency and better conversion rates downstream. And I say this from experience. Shooting to like 1,000, you could have, inflated numbers like open rates because the subject line is good, but then no one books a call, and then the response rate is 0.001%, and one person is cursing you out and sending your domain to hell as well. So yeah, so I definitely do agree with you. One final question I have is, again, there's brother AI that everyone's talking about. Everyone's talking about the cost of software going down, the cost of creating good software going down. I think the cost of creating great software has gone up, but the cost of creating any software has gone down. Um, I'm curious from your own standpoint, where now people can build something, people can prototype stuff, right? I've seen examples of people now building their own, like building MVPs themselves so that they can raise funds and then come to you. How does that affect how you think about, remote teams and outsourcing and helping, founders ideate and put together products?
That's a brilliant question. And there it was clear with release of Chat GPT 3, I think, that AI now will change a lot
Yeah,
for a lot of people, and software engineering is not an exception in this case. So, what kind of decision we made? Like we clearly understood that AI should be leveraged, like, and then we put it as a part of our strategy that we need to leverage it as much as possible. And instead of going against that and say no, AI would not do the job for us and etc., we need to leverage that. Um, Almost all our engineers use copilots or any other AI assistant. Our designers, our business analysts, we leverage AI everywhere where it's possible, while it's still have a good quality. So it's not compromise the quality. It's one of the most important question in our case when we evaluating a new solution and when we wanted to update the process with AI, the AI agent or just AI tool. I'm always asking, would it compromise our quality or no? If it does not compromise the quality and it save our time, wonderful. That's what we're gonna to use. But if we have a compromission of quality, if it affect the quality for 1 or 2%, we really need to consider if we need that one. And we use it a lot from the great point regarding the POC. Now, when you have this Firebase Studio Lovable, Bolt, and any other tools, it's so easy to build a proof of concept. And I could tell you even more, we use them to build a proof of concept. It's taken for us days to show to the clients how their application could looks, and we leverage that, and we don't compete with that. The thing is that even to work with a tool to write a proper prompt, you still need to have some knowledges, and our knowledges is within that. When you would ask to, for example, I want to have an application we sign up, and that's all. We write the proper prompt, like I need to have an application we sign up, where I would have a validation for the passwords, where I need to have only 3 attempts within an hour in order to have a proper security, where we will use Google Auth, and where we have a reset password. And reset password is not sending a password as an open password in email, so everyone could read that. It's just with the link and etc. And all of this stuff. So what I mean is, in this expertise again, like the thing which we do by default, a lot of people just don't know. It's because it's not their job to know that. But for the prototyping, that's wonderful. Now the things which took weeks before, taking days to deliver, but it's good at this stage only for the proof of concept. I would not consider this for the MVP, and the reason for that is there are still a lot of security issues with that. We all read about that exposure of keys and etc. So it's quite dangerous. And another reason, and the reason for that is because AI model is training on the data set. It's basically a huge set of the data. And let's say we have a good code and we have a bad code. It open it on the open source. A lot of open source is the code of the students, of the people who wanted to learn something, and amount of the bad code is usually like that one. And cause model see that that's like, I have a 2 times more code like that, then I need to suggest that code because that's a good
Yeah.
code, because a lot of people doing this. And that's where the problem coming. Like, it's quite hard to define the things. Even between good engineers, it's always like, what is a good code, what is the bad code? But
Yeah.
AI really powering a lot of engineering teams, and I believe it will only continue. The quality will only grow. And even right now, we need to change the way how we teaching junior engineers. Like now, we don't need to teach them a lot of stuff which they learned like 10 years ago, but we need to teach them a lot of stuff on the system design and other topics which it was not common at that level. Leverage that and utilize that in order to provide the better quality and the better services.
Yeah. This is great. I think the last thing you just said now is something no one has answered to me yet, which is what do you do with junior engineers on the team? Do you just take them and throw them into like the deep end and be like, hey, take cursor, deliver this in 2 days, like a senior engineer would? But I think your suggestion or what you just talked about, which is starting to teach junior engineers senior concepts, so concepts that they should care about while they're seniors, like you say, system design, performance database, architectures, and how to build more, scalable systems so that they can start to think within the mind frame or with the mindset of senior engineers. Then hopefully the experience comes, along the way. Because part of being a senior engineer is also being in the trenches. They have experience from doing these things, failing, sending, prod database, setting it on fire, fixing stuff, and then learning these concepts along the way. But junior engineers could learn these concepts and then, proceed proceed with life. Because currently there really isn't space for junior engineers anymore. A lot of teams, a lot of people are like, why do I want to hire someone to write HTML and CSS or write Next.js when I can just prompt prompt it in a day and I'm done?
It's absolutely good and absolutely right way of the evolution of the software development. Like, ask how much software engineers know how transistors works, but it all started, or how much of them can do a binary calculation. Not a lot.
Yeah,
And the reason, because they don't need that, because they don't use that. The same thing here. Like, the thing which is rewriting today manually, or we wrote yesterday, like it would not be written manually tomorrow. and tomorrow it's abstract tomorrow, like in a year, in a two, or in a three. And it's absolutely fine. It's a
Yeah,
evolution, and that's why in creative industry you always need to learn and you always need to adopt. That's why when our HR manager asked me what is the top skill which we need to look for the people, I'm saying adaptive intelligence. That first one now, critical thinking and adaptive
yeah,
intelligence.
yeah. You're. I, I think this anecdote I have to use somewhere. I have to steal this one from you. But how many engineers know how transistors work or how to program like machine code or write do binary calculations? Not many, but we are engineers, so we'll all be
Yeah.
fine. We'll all have a job at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that.
like that. Yeah, it's about the
Yeah.
way of the thinking.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very, very valid. Our problems will evolve. We'll focus on higher value problems. Maybe everyone becomes an AI engineer at some point. It becomes like the basis um of programming. People did QBasic for a long time, then web development came about, and everyone became either a front end or a back end developer. And now
Yep,
it looks like we're all going to move away from that and start writing transformers and diffusion models for
exactly.
as for work. Yeah, this is great. Anyways, I just sort of come up on time. I wouldn't want to take so much of your time, but this has been great. This The time flew so fast. I really don't know where the time went, but thank you so much, Ivan. This has been great.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me, and it was a pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, that's great. Well, for anyone listening, for anyone in the comments, thanks for hanging out with us today on this episode. If you have any custom software development requirements or any custom software needs, the least you can do is get a quote from Coax and Ivan. You can just tell them William sent you, and that should be enough. And if you're lucky, you get a POC as well to show you what what the software would look like. And I guess Ivan, the best way to find you is on LinkedIn, right? With your full name.
Yep, yep. Just drop me a message in LinkedIn. Happy to discuss with you everything that is related to the software and your products and your ideas.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that was today's episode of Everything Outside Code, and thank you all for hanging around. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.